Hi, today we're going to go over the fourth tutorial in the VARS-TOOL package. This tutorial covers sensitivity analysis with custom multivariate distributions. For this exercise, we are going to be doing sensitivity analysis of the Ishigami test function when inputs follow empirical distributions. In specific, this notebook runs a sensitivity analysis when the theoretical distribution of some inputs is unknown or too complex, but a sample from that distribution is available. Here the standard G-VARS is extended to accommodate any custom empirical multivariate distribution. Some example research questions are, suppose you have a model with uncertain parameters, but the distributional properties of the uncertainty parameters are unknown. Instead, a sample of that distribution is available. Which parameters are the dominant controls of model prediction uncertainty? Another example research question is, suppose you have a machine learning model already trained to some input-output data taken from some unknown multivariate distribution. Which inputs to the machine learning model are the most important ones in generating the model output? Here, for demonstration purposes, the simple Ishigami test function is used, but to answer the above question, it can be replaced with any process-based or machine learning model. So first, we will import the needed libraries. This includes G-VARS and the model class. To run a cell, we press Shift-Enter. Next, we will introduce the Ishigami function for sensitivity analysis. This is a function with 3 inputs. It is one of the most commonly used functions in the sensitivity analysis literature to test and compare the performance of different sensitivity analysis methods. So to define this function, I will press Shift-Enter again to run the cell. Now we wrap the function of interest with the model class. This is just so that we can run the model in the VARS program. Now we can run the wrapped function for an arbitrary input and check the output. And as you see here, we get 0, which is expected because all the parameters are 0. Now we will set up a G-VARS experiment with custom distributions. The distribution type for any input could be set to custom. Any custom distribution is non-parametric, and therefore all the parameters of a custom distribution should be set to none. G-VARS derives the properties of a custom distribution empirically from a given sample. The user needs to provide a CSV file with each column including sample data for an input with custom distribution. Different columns can have different lengths. This file should be provided as an experiment attribute called dist_sample_file. I will leave the good to know piece to read on your own. Now, before we set up our experiment, let's take a look at the custom distribution CSV file. Here in Excel, you can see our custom distribution CSV file. Here we have 2 parameters that are going to be custom distributions, x1 and x2. It is needed to have the name of the parameter as exactly inputted into the G-VARS experiment as the header for each column. It is noted that each column does not have to be the same length. Here I will show you. You can clearly see that x2's column only goes to 424 and x1 column goes on farther. Now we are back at the experiment to define it. First we will make our parameters variable. This is a dictionary where the keys are the parameter names and the values are the distribution parameters in the distribution identifier. You can see with x1 and x2, all the distribution parameters are none because they are not needed, and the distribution identifier is custom. x3 is not a custom distribution, so it has its necessary distribution parameters. We can see that the correlation matrix is set inside a NumPy array. The rest of the parameters you can see are set up as they should be, and I will leave that for you to read on your own. Now we run the G-VARS experiment. Now that the G-VARS experiment is done running, we can see that all the loading bars are complete. Now we can check out the results of the G-VARS analysis. The first result that we will look at is the I-VARS, which stands for the integrated variogram across a range of scales. I-VARS indices are the primary sensitivity indices by the VARS approach. So first what we're going to do is print all of the values. Now we will take a look at some of the plots. We will take a look at the plot of I-VARS 50 which is called the total variogram effect, and this is the most comprehensive sensitivity index. And we will be plotting sensitivity results in log scale to help us better differentiate less influential parameters. Here we can see that x2 and x3 are more influential than x1. On a log scale, we can see it even better that x2 and x3 are more influential. In addition to the I-VARS indices, VARS and G-VARS estimate solvable variance-based total order effects as side products. Here we will print them and plot them. Again, here we can see that x2 and x3 in both of the plots are more influential than x1. Next, for more advanced users of VARS, we can look at the directional diagram. This provides a wealth of information about the structure of the model response surface. It is noted that variograms are most meaningful when h is between 0 and 0.5 of the parameter ranges, but the user can investigate the entire perturbation range between 0 and 1. Here we will print them and plot them once again. It is noted that some of the values may be nan because the sampling in G-VARS is completely random and we bin the samples to create the h values based on their differences. Here we can see as the perturbation scale increases that we get a more clear look on the sensitivities. Here we see that x2 is the most sensitive, but as soon as we get to 0.4 and 0.5, it falls below, and x3 turns to be the most sensitive. The log scale just helps differentiate that in a different view. We can also look at cross sections of sample points in the input space. To do this, we can do this by choosing any pair of parameters and see the projection of all star centers and star points onto the respective two-dimensional space. Here we can see that x1 and x2 are not correlated, and there is a space here which comes from the sampling strategy. Here we can see that x1 and x3 have a bit of correlation. Again, x2 and x3, there is no correlation with a space due to sampling. Here we can put the star centers in the G-VARS experiment into a data frame as shown below. These are the sample points used to run the model. Now we can look at the star points generated along with their respective outputs. This following data frame includes all the star points generated for each row. The first column indicates the associated star center, the second column indicates the parameter along which the cross-sectional samples were taken, and the third column indicates the star point numbers along that cross-section. The last column indicates the valuable model response for the input set in each row. Here we can see that centers in the first, parameters in the second, points in the third. Here we can look at the pairs generated and their associated dissimilarity. The following data frame includes all the resulting pairs of samples. For each row, the first column indicates the associated star center and the second column indicates the parameter along with the cross-sectional samples that were taken. The pair end column indicates the index of sample points in each pair. The H column indicates the bin distance between the two samples in each pair, and the actual H column indicates the exact distance between the two. The columns 0 and 1 show the outputs y1 and y2 associated with each sampling point in the pair. The dissimilarity column shows the equation shown right here. And that is it for the fourth tutorial. Thanks for watching.